Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped and welcome to this week's Midweek 180. Well, I have been pretty busy the last few days, but I have actually had some time at home, which has been amazing. Although I am about to go away tomorrow, but more on that later. If you've not seen one of these before, this is my midweek update where I bring you my news, views, and information about upcoming reviews, all filmed in one take. Now, this week, I want to talk about Jaguar. I know loads of people have done videos on Jaguar. I did a live stream last week and mentioned or gave you my thoughts, but now we've kind of seen the concept car, I do want to talk about it. And there's a few other things that I need to update you as well. But before we get cracking with that, let's get some housekeeping out the way. So last week's leader of the pack was Michael Kember. Well done, mate. Joined in the Magnificent Seven by Kevin DG7, Malcolm Brew, Matthew LaBerge, Paul Mead, Robert Lloyd, and Sammy B155. So whoever puts the first comment this week, you'll be my leader of the pack next week, and the first 7 comments will be in my Magnificent 7. Now, normally I would start with F1 news, but I want to dive straight into Jaguar because there's plenty of content out there across all the various social media platforms about the last 2 or 3 weeks in Jaguar. To start with, I actually want to go back maybe 4 or 5 years when Jaguar announced that from 2025 they were going to be an all-electric brand. And their first all-EV to market was the I-Pace, and at the time that was a pretty groundbreaking car. I can remember driving it, and I think the styling was really good. It looked like a nice car. For sure it was a kind of crossover, mid-size SUV style car, but it was a pretty good car. And they carried on with their internal combustion engine range, things like the F-Type, which was a brilliant car. I've driven lots of F-Types, lots of different variants of it, the V6 and the V8, the SVR. I've driven Project 7 and Project 8. I'm a big Jaguar fan. One of my first viral videos I had on the channel actually was a Jaguar XES, the V6 XE, which at the time I thought was a really good car. So when they announced all EV only, nothing really happened on the car line up front. They kept on with the I-Pace. They did a midlife refresh, but they didn't really do anything else in the EV space at all, and just kind of slowly but surely dwindled away in our consciousness. And if we actually look at JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, as part of the group, the Jaguar part of that sells less than 10% of the cars that JLR sell are actually Jaguars. So when we started to see a bit more activity in the last few weeks, this new complete redesign of the brand Jaguar, and that was instigated on Instagram by the video that I'm sure everybody has seen. I'm not going to show you clips of it. It started a furore, a debate, a very impassioned argument almost online. And I guess first off, I understand when brands want to redesign themselves, want to change logos or color branding or their direction. That's the natural evolution of any business actually. But I think for me, the thing that's really I found quite difficult is the way that Jaguar have done it. On their Instagram feed, they deleted all their previous posts and just had the one post of an advert that really had nothing to do with cars. I'm not going to use the word woke agenda, but it was certainly the most diverse and inclusive advert I've ever seen. And it was almost trying too hard to be that way. And it seemed like Jaguar as a business were just writing off all of their history back to Le Mans and C and D and E-types and some of the most beautiful cars ever made. But you've got to say, as an ad campaign, it worked because I think the ad campaigns had millions and millions and millions of eyeballs, probably more activity than any ad campaign Jaguar have done in the last 50 years. And everybody was talking about it, not just online, but even mainstream news channels and newspapers and radio outlets. Everybody was talking about the Jaguar rebrand. So you could argue that it was a success. My counter argument to that would be, yes, there were eyeballs, yes, there were interactions and comments, but the vast majority of those comments were negative ones, were people just aghast at what Jaguar were doing and really struggling to understand the direction that the business was going in. And then this week, we've finally seen the concept Type 00 brake cover. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit because it's a striking looking car, but it is a concept car. And there is absolutely no way that that car, when it goes into production, and I'm even going to caveat that by saying if it goes into production, will look anything like that. There are very few concept cars that when they're released as concept make it through to a final manufacturer and look very similar. The Renault R5 is one of the very few. So there's no way Type 00 is going to look like that. I really struggle to see why Jaguar are aiming at a completely different audience, because that car is going to be aimed at Rolls-Royce and Bentley money. Bizarrely, the advertising campaign is aimed at a much younger audience that probably don't have the money to spend on the car that they're actually going to make. And I just don't get it. I don't understand whatever. I mean, there's a few of the people who've seen it and made videos on it. I don't think they've been particularly objective about it. I don't think they've done themselves any favours. It strikes me as people who are getting paid to make that content. I might be wrong on that one. That's just my gut feel. But you know, the actual car itself, two colours. I think it was Miami pink and London blue. The Miami pink colour, I mean, I don't know what they were thinking with that one, because basically I look at that car and I think either Fab 1 from the Thunderbirds being driven by Parker with Lady Penelope in the back, or the car the Pink Panther used to drive around in. And I can't get that image out of my head at all, I'm afraid. I don't understand that particular style of car. I don't think it's, for me, the kind of car that Jaguar should be pinning their hopes on. And I'm sure there are other cars in the pipeline. But I honestly struggle. And it's a concept at the moment. We're just at the end of 2024. And I think by the time that car, we physically see a car, it's going to be back end of 2025. By the time actual customers get into it, it's going to be 2026. And at the moment, Jaguar don't have cars to sell customers. And I don't understand the business model, the strategy around that. You don't hibernate a company for 2 years and expect customers to be there when you come back again. I don't understand where, I feel for Jaguar employees. I don't understand how they're going to be paid for the next 2 years when there isn't income coming into the business. I'm guessing that income's going to be from investment, being from the rest of the JLR group income. But I think it's a very, very, very risky strategy indeed. And I worry for the company. I really, really do. And I would love to, I could say I'd love to know your thoughts, but I probably just need to look online and look in the comments of any post to do with Jaguar over the last 2 or 3 weeks to understand where everybody's coming from. So that's my thoughts really. I think it's sad. I'm not actually going to comment on the rebranding. Everyone's losing their mind the fact that they've got rid of the Leaper, the Jaguar that we see on the older cars on the front of the bonnet and so on. I kind of understand businesses evolve. And you look at logos and corporate identities, they evolve. The Jaguar typeface, it looks like something a 5-year-old could have come up with, but, some branding company will have charged Jaguar a pretty penny for that, I'm sure. It's not to my taste. But actually, that's not my problem or not my issue. My issue is the positioning of the business, the way in which that's been done, and I just think they've alienated their base. Yes, I was watching the mainstream news on the BBC last night, and it was one of the headline clips. Was to talk about Jaguar's new car being released. I mean, they'd have never have thought they could do that 6 months ago. But I don't know whether it was a favourable thing or not. So let me know what you think. That's my rant going. I've been talking way too long about that. F1 very briefly. From the weekend, really gutted for Lando, but I do understand why he got the penalty. Obviously running in second place, he didn't lift for double wave yellows. When you look at the video evidence, it was pretty obvious he didn't lift for double wave yellows, and therefore a harsh penalty is coming your way if you do that. The Russell Verstappen spat I just find fascinating. Verstappen was moaning about Russell and what he did in qualifying, and then he did exactly the same thing to Lando during the race. I mean, talk about people in glass houses throwing stones and all that. But my hope is going into the last race that McLaren can seal up the Constructors' title, because that would be amazing for McLaren. A few things. I've got an Ioniq 5N this week as a press car, and all I need to say is oh my God, it's good. It's such a good car. Everybody who says shiny, happy things about the Ioniq 5N, basically they're telling the truth. It's a brilliant car. Video coming to the channel very, very soon. And then my last 2 flyaways this year, I'm actually off to Mallorca tomorrow with Skoda for the first drives of the L Rock. Now, I was in Czechia about 6-8 weeks ago to see the reveal of that of that car, so it'd be great to get to drive that. And then next week I've got 2 days in Italy ice driving with Maserati, so that's going to be fun. So a couple of cool videos coming to the channel very soon on those. And this Friday's video, I know I said I was going to put it out last week, but we just had some things in the edit Alex and I were working on that just needed a bit more time, so we're hoping we're going to get that Land Cruiser Moroccan adventure video out on Friday, and it is worth waiting for. It's a very, very special video. If you haven't done already, tune in to this Monday's video, which was my McLaren e-bike video, a bit of Cycle Sunday action again. It's doing all right. I didn't expect it to do gangbusters on the channel. I'm a car channel, it's a bike, but very, very interesting bike, very cool. But yeah, there you go. So I'll love you and leave you on that one. Let me know what you think of Jaguar. I would love to just pool all of your thoughts about that particular last 2 to 3 weeks in Jaguar's history and what you think of the Type 00 concept. But for now, I shall love you and leave you. If you enjoyed that, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.